welcome back to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe. My name is Greg Engel.
And I'm Jaren Decker.
And we'll be your host today. It's the Christmas time episode of Anything Joe's, and that means it's going to be extra short because things are crazy hectic right now, as I'm sure they are for most of you as well. But it was either make a short episode or take a week off because the crunch is getting to us. And that works out pretty well because, quite frankly, there's almost no news and there's very little acquisitions as we are family men who have to buy gifts for our offsprings. So let's cover our one piece of news, and we'll cover the limited amount of things that we have gotten in, and then we'll go from there. Flame Toys unveils the G.I. Joe Hito Kata Kuri Snake Eyes figure. This figure is the second in a line. I had to look it up because they specifically say it's the second product in this specific line. The first was a Batman from the Arkham Knight video game that is actually pretty cool looking. He's really meched up. He looks like really kind of robotic. And so it's no surprise that this Snake Eyes is also a bit of a deviation from the norm. He's got a lot of armor pieces going on. He's wearing like Jaren, you know the name of the like Shogun hat, that little dome hat?
I don't. I wish I was that dedicated, but I do not.
Well, anyway, it's like a classic Ronin-style headwear. Looks like an upside-down bowl. And then he has a big scarf that I assume is posable based on this figure. Looks like real cloth also, which is pretty cool. So it kind of looks like it's blowing in the wind. That stuff's all removable. According to the listing, it's made of plastic, die-cast in fabric. 60 points of articulation. Does include a fabric scarf. 6 pairs of hands, katana and scabbard, sword, 2 knives, 2 claws, 2 small swords and scabbards, backpack, weapon arm parts for backpack, hat, scarf, 2 pistols, machine gun attachment, stand, joint parts, and instructions. So it's got quite a few parts, and it's listed at 7.28 inches, which is kind of an awkward scale for these. Not that the style lends itself to fit in with anything else in that scale, but certainly puts itself kind of in an awkward phase where, you know, it's kind of will stand on its own, unfortunately, unless you're just specifically collecting the Hito Kata Kuri line, in which case it actually looks very at home with that Batman figure. And besides the 2 knives, 2 claws, and 2 small swords, there's 2 other things, and that's that this thing is $220. Are you f***ing kidding me? No way. No. Absolutely no way. I mean, don't get me wrong. Looks very cool. Lots of the poses are awesome. In this one shot, he has like a third like robotic arm that's holding a sword for him. So they've really like gone off the rails in terms of what they want to do. And he's in a ton of poses. I'm not going to deny that it's a cool looking figure, but $220 for 7.28 inches? No, sir. No way. Jaren, what are your price point aside, what do you think about this, just the structure and build of this figure?
I think it looks really cool. I would like to see it in hand. I think they do a good job of like kind of hiding the joints by just making it look like a joint. If that makes sense. Like, if you look at the elbows, it looks like how it's supposed to go. I like this design for Snake Eyes. The extra arm looks like it would make sense as to how he's able to do some of the things he's able to do if he had another arm to slice bad guys up with. It's not something I'm going to be adding to my collection unless it goes on a crazy discount, but it is a really cool design, and I like that they didn't just go for another standard normal looking Snake Eyes.
It makes me think of 2 different Snake Eyes. First of all, this is kind of a deep cut because we haven't talked about it for a while, but Wizards of the Coast announced they were working on a video game. It was more recently announced that Devil's Due press writer Brendan Jerwell was going to be providing the story for it, which is great news. We got a couple of really quick shots of those. You might remember when we covered this, Jaren. He has like a robotic leg. There was a bunch of like, I don't know, transforming stuff in it. Anyway, I think about that a lot because it's very clearly Japanese influenced, so is this. And it also makes me think of like, if there was a cool Sigma 6 Snake Eyes, this is kind of what he would look like because of there's a lot of like robotic arm stuff. He's like got really, really armored up, but not in a, it doesn't make him look too hefty. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, this would need to go take a price cut, or I would need to really just come into a large sum of money in July 2023, which is when this is estimated to arrive. Well, I mean, I guess we'll keep an eye on it, but I don't know anybody if you pull the trigger on this, first of all, be my friend because you're rich. Second of all, I would love to hear I'd love to see some unboxings or some in-hands of these just to see how cool it is. And I'd like to see it beside the largest classified figure. I'd like to see how that holds up scale wise. I still feel like he'd be pretty big, but I haven't really measured the metrics of, classified scale is roughly 6 inches, but we know that there's some deviation there. So yeah, anyway, it's available for pre-order right now in Big Bad Toy Store among, I'm sure, other retailers that aren't Dorkside Toys.
But I'd have to imagine that this is, probably as big as a Serpentor height-wise. He's got to be pushing 7 inches.
Yeah, which makes me think that, if that was the case, it might actually be in line with it a little bit. It might not be that obnoxious.
Yeah. McFarlane Collector, those are all 7-inch scale, so right around in there.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I couldn't be coerced to buying this. I'm saying that I, A, would regret it probably, and B, it would have to really be able to do everything that is pictured here easily and then some. I don't want to have to warm up any joints at this cost. It should be pre-warmed. This should come in a box that preheats it for me. So we'll check back in with this, and if we get more shots or more information on it. I'm assuming that maybe a part of that cost is because it comes from Japan. I know it's part of the Flame Toys line, and you see a lot of. Well, I say that, but that model kit that showed up at Hobby Lobby and Michaels, it was $45, and while it wasn't anything to write home about, it was still arrived domestically in the U.S. and was sold on store shelves.
Look, I'm gonna go ahead and bust out my crystal ball and say that some point this will be added into Greg's collection because that's just the Greg way.
I'm going to go ahead and burst out my Raptor and say, caw, caw, caw. That's a great G.I. Joe joke. I don't care. I don't care who you are. Okay, so that's it. That's the only news item we got. There was some other stuff kind of on the underwire, but nothing that I felt like is really worth your time or mine, quite frankly. So let's move over to recent acquisitions. We'll talk about some classifieds that we got in and a couple other goodies.
Recent acquisitions.
All right, so it's not been that long since we caught up on what we got in, so it's also pretty sparse in recent acquisitions. However, both of the new classified figures since we talked I have in hand. I have the Zorana in hand, and I have the Dusty in hand as well. I've had the Crimson Guards for a long time. I don't know if we talked about this, but BBTS fulfilled them months ago. I've had them for quite a while, and which is weird because some people are still waiting on them or are just now recently getting them.
Yeah, they are still waiting on them, like me.
I don't know what the deal is with that. Actually, I bet a big part of it has to do with bulk ordering because it's a troop builder.
I think the biggest problem is that I didn't stick with the one I originally ordered, so I got put to the end of the line. So here's the problem. I ordered them from Big Bad, and then everyone was like, hey, Hasbro Pulse is shipping them. Turned out that was probably a grand total of 7 Crimson Guards. But I canceled it and ordered from Hasbro Pulse. And then the same thing happened in reverse. Everyone was like, oh, Big Bad Toy Stores is shipping theirs out. All you guys got yours from Big Bad. So I was like, cool, cancel mine. Go back to Big Bad Toy Store. Because I'm trying to cancel when I change orders. That way I don't end up with 40 like I did with Major Bloods. I had 17 different Major Bloods come in at the same time. But so then the same thing happened. All the Big Bad Toy Stores are still sitting there waiting, and everybody's gotten them from Hasbro Pulse again.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the pre-order diaries too bad, but I had a similar experience where everybody got their Zorana from Hasbro Pulse, and I had ordered mine from Amazon because they had been fulfilling pretty regularly. And then, as a matter of fact, I think on the last episode I was like, it'll be here Friday. Well, it wasn't there that Friday. Him and Dusty both got pushed back, and then my good buddy Nick was like, hey, if you order it from Hasbro Pulse right now, they'll ship it immediately. So that's what I did. And yes, to speak to the other thing, I have also got a problem with forgetting to go back and canceling pre-orders once they get fulfilled. I had pre-ordered a Spirit and a Storm Shadow from GameStop way back because there was a rumor that they were going to fulfill early, and they didn't. Shocker. And it was so complicated. To go into an order on GameStop, it's like, do you know the order number? I'm like, no, I can log in. No, that's not good enough. What's your order number and your zip code? I'm like, you guys should probably have this basic information on hand. Anyway, it was too much trouble, and by the time I even was able to sit down and look at it, they were already here. So yet again, the not trying to buy one to open and one to keep sealed, is not working out very well. Sometimes not even of my own accord, just because I can't keep track of what's going on.
As a quick side note, Does your GameStop orders ever show you like 7 of the same orders?
You mean like 7 simultaneous things all coming in?
No, it'll show me like the same order 7 times. Like I pre-ordered they had a Gaming Greats Black Series, and it showed me like I had to scroll through my orders like 4 times, and they were all there, but it was all one order, and it just showed me it 4 times. It was very confusing.
I have not seen that, but I do not tend to order from GameStop unless it's a GameStop exclusive, which typically boils down to Funko Pops and weird mystery box things. Like they had a lunchbox which had a Funko Pop in it. Stuff like that is, if I can only get it through them, that's where I go through it, because it gets lost in the shuffle. They overcharge for shipping, and when I can just get it free through Prime or for $4 at BBTS. So they're one of my lowest choices, unless I hear a rumor that they're shipping early and like an idiot I pre-order. Sorry, let me back up a little bit because we have the time. What's a Steel Series Black? What was that?
Gaming Greats Black Series, yeah. So for GameStop, all of their Black Series are all from video games. So they've done the full set of Republic Commandos. They've done a bunch of different Battlefront 2 troopers. They've done some different Jedi Fallen Orders, and they're almost always repaints. It's very, there's only been a couple that were, and heck, by now they're probably not even unique anymore, but, like things that are very minimally changed, but are unique characters, just with, the same molds.
Who's the character that you got?
That one, the one that was popping up was one of the Delta Squad from Republic Commandos.
That's cool. That's actually the one I would want, because Republic Commando was a very good game on the original Xbox. If you're not
the newest one's coming out in, like, I think they have it scheduled for March, but there's already in hand people getting it overseas, so it'll be here soon. But it's been in the last year, probably 1 calendar year from the first one to the last one, I would think.
All right, that's enough Star Wars talk. This is an order of battle. Okay, so I have all the new wave. I have Dusty, I have Zoran, I got a couple of Crimson Guards. And if I'm understanding correctly, you only have the Dusty at this point?
I only got lucky with Dusty.
Okay, that's weird phrasing, but let me speak to I can't really talk about the Crimson Guard, because I'll be quite honest, I bought a couple of them.
Hold on, Greg. I have a Zorana. I just haven't opened her. I've completely forgotten. She came in the same time.
Wow. The holidays are truly a stressful time for us all.
Yeah,
well, go get it. Go get it. Let's go get it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. All right.
2 hours later.
Boy, that just, I completely forgot. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, wait, no, I did get them both at the same time.
I can't say that's never happened to me, but I've been looking forward to this Serrana figure for a very long time. So
yeah, this was like the one you were like most into. So I don't know why this has slipped my mind so badly. I remember I got it in and I was leaving and I was like, well, I'm going to open Dusty, and then when I get back, I'll open Zorana.
Yeah, this is probably the last wave that will have the transparent windows on them. Regardless about how you feel about it, it's still an interesting last look at this packaging design.
It felt almost nostalgic already, just from like the last couple being regular release.
It makes me think of when the Snake Eyes movie figures came out, and they were like a step behind articulation wise, and you're like, oh wow, we've kind of moved beyond this, everybody.
Yeah, we're past this, guys.
All right, so I'll talk about it first, since you are in the process of opening that right now, I assume. Everybody that's listened to the show knows I've been talking about this figure since it was first announced, and because I love the character of Zorana, and I love the design of Zorana, and so I'm invested in what this figure would turn out to be. And when they showed the physical or the actual reveal photos, I was pretty much won over immediately. And I think it's safe to say, now that it's in hand, I feel exactly the same way. There's nothing, this figure's great. This is a great figure in a series of great figures. I will try my best to acknowledge the shortcomings of, the line as a whole. And there are problems with the classified series here and there. But more often than not, the last, half a dozen figures that I've picked up have just been 10 stars all in. This Arana figure has got everything that you would basically think. She's got her backpack, she's got whatever the little like machete thing is that she carries. They modernized her little, whatever you would call that little chainsaw gun that she carries around. So they made it a little, I won't say practical, because it's just one shot. It's like a Gears of War gun, but light. But it still looks good. It's not unbelievable. Probably the most significant thing that comes with the Zorana is the hair change. And I think it's worth speaking on that this is kind of the best of both worlds. The new hairstyle is much more modern, like it's got kind of like blonde at the roots, and it updates kind of what that hairstyle would look like today. But if you're a true purist, they included an alternate hairstyle that looks exactly like the V1. I mean, to a T. So you can kind of make her look like that as well. I have not seen a lot of people using that hairstyle because the other one looks so cool and so new. And is a rare example, I think, of the community accepting change. But I think it's great that they thought ahead to include the other as well, and is maybe a very simple solution for people that are hesitant to modernization versus the vintage look. Is that there's a couple of interchangeable parts that could kind of toe the line between the two. Maybe some snap-on armor or something that would make it look a little bit more newer, and then but then underneath it's like a core V1 style. I have no complaints about this figure other than I have seen and also experienced some mild quality control issues, which should be shocking to no one that's ever bought a classified figure, that they have problems with the joints. I'm specifically speaking about the elbow joint that is it would be our left, her right, is on mine very unconnected, I guess is the only way I can describe it. So, for example, if I bend her arm in like she's holding her opposite side, for example, you can see the like bar that connects the two muscles, like from the shoulder to the bicep. It's exposed almost as if it's ready to pop out, which I am not comfortable experimenting with in either direction. So it's just kind of visible at this point. And that's not the first time I've heard of stuff where people are like trying to get her to hold her gun with both hands and it can't, for reasons kind of related to that, is that it doesn't pivot well enough, I guess. But that was the only major issue I had. And I mean, I guess, I don't know. Classified figures to me are still basically glorified statues. I find a pose I like them in, and then I put them on a shelf. I very rarely play with them or, do anything. And nothing close to how I play with original Joes. And that's fine. I mean, the price point for, it's cheaper than buying statues, and they're certainly more well detailed than anything else I've ever seen at this price point. So it is what it is. But it does bum me out a little bit that it seems like every figure I have has some small issue. This Serana's joint is weird. My Serpentor had like extra plastic on his elbow. My Dr. Mindbender's got staining from his cape. Some quality control is okay, but this is starting to feel a bit excessive. More so when every single person I talk to is having a same or similar problem. Sorry, got off on a tangent there. Jaren, now that you've unboxed the Serana, please give us your fresh and initial thoughts on it.
So I like it. I have a different issue. One of my thigh cuts is really tight. Just it's the one with the boot or the thigh knife.
Yes.
And at first I thought it's just the knife is over that spot, but that is not it. It is. I have moved the knife very clear away from it, and it's just very tight. No, I like this figure. I don't like the faces. It reminds me of that retro collection Duke, the screaming Duke. I don't like the big scowl. I think I like the retro hairpiece a little bit more, actually.
You would be the one person that's like, yeah, I want it to look like the vintage figure that I don't collect.
I want it to look like the one. Well, to me, I don't have that connection to the vintage. I just think this is it's less mullety, so I'm here for it.
I would say that the solution to that, which would be a win for everybody, is if you're going to include an alternate hairpiece, why not include an alternate head also?
Yeah,
and that way you could kind of have like a neutral face and then have something that's kind of a little bit more aggressive. This face doesn't bother me, but I totally get what you're saying. It's not a work of art.
It's not egregious. It's just, I wish it was just a little bit. It's definitely not the worst. It's not like a lot of the McFarlanes lately have been. The DC Multiverse, those have been getting really bad. Everybody's looking sideways and stuff like that. But I mean, I enjoyed this.
It seems to be a common thread with female faces. Lady J had similar, except hers was like no expression. She seemed like a robot or synthoid. So anyway, great. I've been waiting for it forever, and they showed up early. They've all been showing up early. People have in-hand shots of CoverGirl already, so it's possible that we'll be talking about the next wave, in just a few weeks or so, which would be great. Very excited for that CoverGirl. Very excited for that Outback. Jaren's very excited for that Crimson Bat.
Yeah, I am.
Let's talk about our other guy that we got, and that's Dusty. So this Dusty figure, I just got in, and it was, I don't know why, but it took a long time to show up. I have not been super enthused about this Dusty figure since I saw it. It's tough because there's technically nothing wrong with it. They looked at the V1 Dusty and followed it, in a pretty accurate way. And maybe, I guess that's the problem, is that I guess Dusty could use a little bit of an improvement. Mine, looking at the pictures, it's weird because I feel like the coloring on mine is not as good as this. When I looked at my Dusty and looked at the V1 Dusty, I thought, man, this light brown or whatever, I guess tan, is not the same color as a V1. It's quite a bit, shade wise, it's fairly off on mine. And so that threw me off. And the second thing that threw me off is that the helmet is very, very bad. I had said when we talked about the digital renders that I thought the back part should be cloth, just like the initial one was. They chose not to do that, and I probably could have forgiven that, but it does not fit on him well at all. Don't know if they maybe made extra room for in case the extra goggles are up there, but I chose not to use the second set of goggles because a dude wearing goggles that has also got goggles on his head looks dumb to me. So I just put the ones on his helmet because that's kind of more in the lines of what his outfit actually looks like. And so that might be part of the problem, but basically there's no amount of pressure I can put on this helmet to make it stay on his head. It's very, very loose. The helmet is too big or his head is too small. In one of these shots, it even looks like he's holding it on with his hand. It just does not work for me at all. His face is fine. Dusty doesn't have a lot of expression. I do think there was a window to make him look a lot more the way, like when I pictured Dusty's face, I really see the cartoon version of Dusty. And I think that was mimicked in the comic book a lot with different artists. And this Dusty's face doesn't look like that, unfortunately. And I feel like that could have been, if there was ever a face that, immortalized what Dusty looked like, I feel like that would have been it. This looks like a new guy altogether. And that's fine. He's got face paint and stuff on, so it could be anybody, I guess. But I just feel like it was, I don't know. There's something lacking here, and I can't put my finger on it. Jaren, well, give me some insight on your thoughts on Dusty.
I'm not going to say that people are wrong when they say that the helmet doesn't fit great. It does look a little oversized, but it clicks on very well. I will give him credit for that. It stays on. At least mine does. I don't know if yours does. I can shake him upside down and his helmet doesn't come off. I do think it would have been better if they had went with an actual, some kind of soft goods on the helmet. But, it is what it is, I guess. I love this figure, though. I think I can understand where he almost looks a little vanilla. Like he doesn't have a defining characteristic. To me, with the I guess, what is it, Tedder, the Rudat name, I like that they included the American flag on there, put the G.I. Joe on it. I think if they had went with a little bit more texture up top, it probably would have helped a little bit as well. You've got, if you look at it in hand, your legs look a little bit more matte, whereas the chest is a lot more glossy. And I think it would look better if it was a little bit more matte going over and you can feel that texture. The only gripe I have with his actual body and face and everything is that he just almost looks too much like Duke. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that, but to me, he looks like he could be Duke's little brother.
No, I'm seeing that also. If my Dusty was a Dairy Queen Blizzard, I'd get it for free because when you turn it upside down, it'd fall flat out.
No, mine clips on perfectly fine without using the extra goggles. I've got the regular helmet on. It just looks like he's wearing his dad's helmet.
So, I guess either I got a bum one or you got a great one. I don't know.
I got the only good one because I've seen a lot of complaints.
Yeah, I'd like to. Maybe we'll run a little poll and see how many people got bum ones. Okay, so that's our two new classifieds. It's been quite the influx of figures lately, but it looks like we maybe have a little bit of a window before the next set starts shipping, so I can kind of get through this Christmas rush, start saving back up for whatever's next.
Bashed over the head with G.I. Joe Winterfest.
Right, I do have to start saving for that.
It's a cyclical time, and it's terrible.
It's a smaller show. I'll be fine. Actually, I am very interested in seeing the new location and see what the setup's like.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to bring the trailer.
The last thing I got is not specifically a G.I. Joe related product, but it's G.I. Joe adjacent, and it's from Fresh Retro. It's called this is the literal description on BBTS, the Scene in Box Fortifications Type A Diorama Building Set. So I've been buying a lot of diorama stuff lately because I want to get more invested in toy photography, and I am too lazy to go outside. And so I just am like, I'll bring the inside here. So I've been looking for dioramas that are good scale for 4-inch or 3 3/4, either one. And this is something that I hit on a while ago. Fresh Retro designs a series of these diorama sets. They kind of look like G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra era base is what it makes me think of. Just like inside military base with a splash of futuristic stuff. And all these bases are, if you're familiar with Raging Spoon's Complex, they are very similar to that, but I like these just a little bit better. There's more variety. They are more modular, so you can kind of put them together any way that you want. The sets all work with each other. It also is fair to compare them to the Joy Toy diorama sets that had been coming out. They borrowed a lot from them, I think, but the design itself is way more forgiving. These are certainly hold together better than Joy Toy stuff does. So it's more comparable with Complex in that sense. So anyway, I picked this up. And it's part of a set. It's like a left-hand side and a right-hand side. You buy them one, and then they just click together for one bigger base. But I could only afford this one at the time, and I wanted to kind of get a feel for how I felt about them. And I'm here to tell you I loved them. I like them probably better than any other diorama building set that I've bought to date. Because, again, you can put them together any way you want, although it does have instructions for a pre-configured design. They all work together to some ability, and they are structurally sound. They don't fall apart. They're not flimsy at all. So, if that's the kind of thing you're into, I recommend checking it out. I'll put some pictures on the YouTube if I have time, and you can kind of get a look at how these guys check out. There's specifically one really great shot. I think I might have to go on Facebook to find it, where someone had built probably $1,000 worth of this stuff to make one huge mega base. And oh my God, it's beautiful. The potential to build like your own pit, if you were wealthy enough to do so, is limitless. It looks really, really cool. Jaren, is there anything else that you've picked up recently that, it doesn't have to be G.I. Joe related, just anything that kind of in this realm?
I picked up another Plunderling not that long ago. I don't know how much experience you have with those.
Zero. I don't even recognize the name.
They're they're like little gremlin looking guys. They were Kickstartered a few years ago, and I jumped in. They were big on the Fwoosh. They're just little dudes that are absolutely adorable and cause mayhem. You should look them up. They're fun. I think I've sent a picture before in the group, but
I'm looking at them right now. These look really cool.
I am really big into the gimmicky stuff. So If you give me something that's translucent or glow in the dark, I'm there for it. So they have a line of translucent ones that they've started doing that were just like they do for like exclusives. Things like that, make them a little bit more special. And I think, all of those, and I love them.
These are very interesting. My daughter would love them.
They have a Kickstarter that just ended that they're working on finishing that are Plunder Longs and Plunder Strongs. And so they're tall, normal ones, and then giant ones. And they all have kind of like a pseudo-pirate theme. And they're really fun. I placed an order for some accessories and stuff. I think I've got another gridiron, a couple gridiron studio weapons. Nothing that's come in yet though. So it'll all be talked about in its time.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for people that start up a new toy line and have no other. There's nothing else attached to it. No comic, no cartoon. Mm-hmm. They're just love toys, and they have created an original concept, because getting that toy into the eyes of toys collectors has got to be a challenge. I've seen lots of great toys, and I guess the kid in me is like, well, because there's no like historical, like there's no continuity for me to pick up, it's typically why I pass on a lot of that stuff, which is great. I have a pretty strict don't buy non-G.I. Joe stuff policy, but occasionally something catches my eye that's so good I have to have it. So I'm going to close this window and stop looking at them.
Yeah, you should, because they're not cheap, but they are worth it, because every single one comes with 3 different sets of hands, 3 different heads, so they're really customizable, and they're a bundle of fun for sure. I don't regret buying them, but I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up once they start adding all the other different versions. I'll probably stick with just the Plunderlings, not the Longs or the Strongs.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for us today.
Can we get an update on your issue 300 real quick? Sorry, before we end.
You mean trying to track them all down?
Yeah. How many you got?
So I got 3 covers in today, and it's just the ABCD covers basically. So I have all the original. I did pick up the 1 in 10 John Royal cover, and I did also get the 125 Ron Joseph cover. I pre-ordered the exclusive cover from IDW. They didn't send it to me. I don't know why. They sent a bunch of stuff that I bought on sale. It didn't come with it. I don't know if I know it's out. I've seen people have it, so they either forgot it or it's coming later for undisclosed reasons. I guess I should follow up with that.
You probably should. You also have the Nerf coming?
I have the Nerf gun pre-ordered. I don't know when it's coming out. I don't want to think about it because it's $100. So that only leaves the it's either 1 in 50. I think it's 1 in 50. And that's the Jamie Sullivan Virgins variant cover. It's the same as cover A, but has nothing on it. So that's basically the only cover I'm missing at this point. It's still really expensive. I've seen it go for over $100 regularly. I'm trying to not do that. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time and see if it calms down a little bit. Maybe when 301 is officially announced, that'll kind of regulate the market for it a bit more. I haven't paid $100 for a comic book in a very long time, so I'm going to try to hold off on that. But yeah, we'll come back on that. I haven't given up on it. I just, not this close to Winterfest. No, sir.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get lucky and someone will have one at Winterfest. And then you can complete the set.
That would be surprising, but it would definitely be something I would be willing to wheel and deal over. All right, so that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for listening. I know this was supposed to be a comic book episode, and I probably should have led with that, but there's just too much going on for us right now, and it takes a long time to put those together. I will do my best to come back to that in 2 short weeks. We'll be back with issue 16, which is the start of another big story arc, and it's pretty much the heyday of G.I. Joe. There's no reason you could not possibly want to listen to it and revisit these great memories. But we look forward to talking to you then in just 2 short weeks, where anything's available for discussion here on Anything Joe's.